Good morning. That was kind of froggy. Good morning. All right. So we are going to get right to it here. This is day 4. I guess I'll say hi first. Day 4 of 12 of the 12 days of Christmas. So we are working with the IOD stamps today and the erasable liquid chalk, which is this 5-pack right here. So there's 5, what are they, 1.5, 2 ounces in each one. So these will last you forever. We're going to be using those today on a chalkboard. These are chalkboards that are actually available to you guys. They're on my website. They come in this ornate frame, and you can paint the frame whatever color you want, or you can leave it gold. It's kind of cool looking. But this one is green, so it's ready for Christmas, and we're gonna get going. I will move you. There we go. Okay, so these are the stamps we are going to be using. So this is the swoosh stamp. So this is the text. I know it's hard to see with reflection on this plastic, but this is a 2-sheet set. So the letters are pretty big, so you need 2 sheets to get the whole alphabet on that one. This is, I just have 2 sets of them out. This is the farmhand stamp, so it is kind of Ray Dunn style, I think. These letters are probably about 3 inches tall, so they're pretty big stamps. Okay, so that's what we're going to be using today. And I'm going to show you how to work with this swoosh stamp because it can be a little bit tricky to get it all lined up. So first I'm just going to take these cover sheets off and put them somewhere where... Trick to these cover sheets, I always write the title. I know you probably can't see it, but I write the title on it, and if it's sheet number 1 or sheet number 2, because I would lose these all the time. So that little bit of writing on there kind of helps to see it where you normally wouldn't see them because they're clear. Okay, so I'm going to hope my big fat head isn't going to get in the way and you guys are going to be able to see what I'm doing. So I originally wanted to go this way. So I'm not sure if it's going to fit this way, but we're going to try. So first we're going to... hair on there. Pull off the letters. I'm going to write jingle all the way on here. Hopefully I spell everything right. Okay, so there's jingle. Now let's start placing this. So the trick to swoosh is you kind of overlap it a little bit because you want it to look like it's handwritten. It's a script. So I am going to, hi Kathy, act like I'm not here. I would have known you weren't there if you wouldn't have said anything. I'm okay this time. I'm in my groove. Thanks for watching, Kathy. Okay, so we're going to line these up the best I can. And I just overlap them a little bit, and you'll see how we work with that later. Right now, we're just getting placement here. And you want, the letters have a certain slant to them. And I try to maintain that slant on all the letters kind of evenly. I try to. It doesn't always work perfectly, but it seems to just look more cohesive if you kind of pay attention to that. Otherwise, they're all kind of willy-nilly and in a mess. Okay, so there's jingle. And now I'm going to use the farmhand to write all the. So remember, you peel your letter off your stamp and then you flip it over to do this lineup part. Oh, thanks, Cheryl Ann. She's supposed to, yes, Vita, you're supposed to be sanding cupboards. Did you get a sander? Obviously, you must have. Okay, so I'm cheating also because I have 2 sets of the farmhand, and I don't want to, I'm going to use both an L out of two separate ones here. So that's kind of cheating. Otherwise, you just go in with an L after the fact and get that one in there. But okay. So these chalkboards are made, I got a whole bunch of these frames, and then when IOD came out with this liquid erasable, well, erasable liquid chalk it's called, I wanted to find the perfect surface that will work, because the homemade chalkboards, the painted chalkboards don't work with this, it won't erase. So that doesn't look straight to me. I have to kind of try to look on my monitor and see it that way, otherwise my head's gonna get in the way. And these letters, this farmhand, aren't all the same size. They're kind of rustic. I don't know if that's a word you want to use for it, but jingle all the way. I think I can spread this out a little bit more. So see, I'm just trying to maintain that angle. There we go. And I want the tail of the first letter to kind of tuck under portion of the second letter, so it kind of hides in there and it makes it look a little bit more like actual script instead of okay. So this is just, I'm not measuring anything, I'm just kind of eyeballing it. It's erasable, so it doesn't have to be perfect. You can fix it. How's that looking? I think that looks pretty good. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is grab, this is a thin mount. So this is the, they're by IOD as well. They are, I want to say, well, that's lovely. These are really sticky, so don't do that. You'll mess up your little, now it's all messed up. Okay. So anyways, this is what I'm going to use to pick up my stamps. So how I'm going to do that is I'm just going to kind of eyeball. I've got almost an inch here, and I've got it tucked right into the bottom of the frame on this end, which you can't see. Let me move that a bit. There, that should help. I've got it tucked right, oh wait, yeah. Okay. Tucked right into the bottom of the frame, and I'm just gonna use that as kind of my measuring. Remembering that when I go to line it up. So now that picks up all my letters. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out every second one of the script letters, the swoosh. Because you can't stamp them when they're doubled up like that, when they're overlapping each other, it's just not gonna work. But I'll show you how you go in and get those in there now. This is the easiest way that I've found to keep that lined up. Okay, so now what we're going to do is I have a brayer. I'm just gonna move this a bit. I'm going to do, what colors am I gonna use? I think I'm just going to use red for the script, and I'll do all the in white. So this is just a old piece of thin mount, and I'm going to just squirt a little bit of the red chalk on there. Trying to do this all where you guys can see what I'm doing makes it a little bit harder. I only have so much camera angle. Okay, so this is one of the IOD brayers. You can use a sponge roller. You can use those little makeup sponges. There's kind of a bunch of options. I use the brayers because they don't, I find the sponge rollers take up too much product and you just end up wasting. Okay, now I want to do the same thing with the white. Just gonna shake it really well. Move those. I guess that's way too much, but oh well. I have a second brayer, so I don't have to stop and go rinse that one off. Trying to get it on the top of the A without getting it on the J. Okay, now this is the tricky part. Getting this down without making a mess. So remember I had about an inch from this side and I tucked this right in at the bottom. Well, I'm gonna do the same exact thing and just lay that down. I'm stabilizing the stamp, the thin mount, with one hand, and I'm just lightly going over with the other one. Just very kind of, well, not a lot of pressure, but enough to get your surface. Gotta be careful there, there's no thin mount behind that part of the J. Always keep one hand on it at all times. It just stabilizes it because you don't want it to be all shifting around. It'll make your stamp all blurry. Okay, I'm just going to still stabilize it and see what's happening here. Okay, so once that dries, it's going to be way more visible on there. So I'm just going to leave that. And I'm going to grab, I have some little pieces of thin mounts. It's super hard to see now, but once it dries, that's really going to pop that red. Okay, so now one at a time, I'm going to take these extra letters. I'm actually going to cut this in half because it's still a little bit big for what I need. Oh, I have a smaller one. This one might be smaller. Okay, so same thing. And one thing I do with these little tails now, because I don't want their, now I can't get this off. There we go. I don't want this part right here to be super thick. So I'm just going to dab it just to thin that out a little bit with just a wet wipe. And then try to, it's really hard for me to see with this glare from the light. Sorry, my head's probably gonna have to go in the way here for a sec. There's the eye. I'll just wipe it off with a thin mount or a wet wipe. Now the G. So this is how you just fill in those letters that you popped out of there. Super easy. Sorry if my head's in the way again, but I cannot see. Okay. And now the E, I'm going to put a little bit more red here. It's getting a little dry. It does take a while for the erasable liquid chalk to dry. One thing I have learned in my experiments is do not use a heat tool to dry it faster because it makes it permanent. So it will no longer be erasable if you use a heat tool. Believe me. Okay, I got some, stuck my finger in it. And once these, the white ones, you can touch them up with a little paintbrush. Just dip a paintbrush in the chalk, or you can re-stamp it if it's not a, that's a pretty simple stamp to stamp over, so that would be an easy one. Not too risky. And now the A. Those of you that have been in the store, this is the sign I had up on the wall, kind of under the car, that had the sunflowers on it. I did in, I don't know, July or August, and I erased it yesterday. I did plan on recording it, but when your brain doesn't work properly and you think you hit the record button and you don't, and yeah, there was some rage. But anyways. Hopefully that's lined up properly. Thanks, Karen. And like I said, once it dries completely, this red is going to be way more vibrant. But don't use a heat tool, whatever you do. I'll have to post a picture for you guys so you can see it done and dry. Okay, now I wanted to put some little Christmassy decorations here. And last year, IOD had the Holly Jolly stamp. I'm sold out of these now, just actually last week. But I'm sure another stockist, or I could probably find some. I'm pretty sure there's a few still kicking around out there of this one. This one's getting hard to find though. But this one has these pretty bells and greens. And there's these little bells that I thought were kind of cute too. And what else can we put on here? Maybe some stars. The fun part about these is that you can experiment and try a bunch of different things, and if you don't like them, you can always take them, wash them off and redo it. So you can do this chalkboard over and over and over again with no issues. Okay, so I need to get, I'm gonna have to rinse these off quick because I need to make another color. So I want to make some green. So I'm going to move this a bit. And we're going to mix up some green. So when IOD came out with these ones, they kind of did the whole primary color. So you can mix whatever color you want, which is awesome. So, of course, blue and yellow makes green. That's a little more bluey green than I wanted, so. right. Okay, now I don't want the bells to be so green. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, I don't know if you can see here, I'm just going to dab off a little bit. And then I'm going to grab one of those makeup sponges. So these are just cheap makeup sponges from the dollar store, but they work really, really good for this. So what I want to do is I want those bells to just be more yellow. And I'm just going to dab the yellow on here. It doesn't have to be perfectly precise. It's not the look I'm going for. Just gives it a little bit of dimension, different color. Right? If you have an extra, 17 brayers kicking around, you can always use a clean brayer to roll the back. There you go. Little chalkboard art. And now these little just wipe that quick. They'll go in the sink to be washed. And let's see if I can grab all those with one. And I'm going to just use this little makeup sponge because my brayer has green on it. Always have baby wipes handy. Get off any of this excess mess. And let's do this bell set with some blue. So I'll be sure to post what this looks like when it's dried and more vibrant, because I know it's super hard to see right now. But it does brighten up. Well, it's like chalk, right? It gets brighter and chalkier as it dries. that little star didn't pop out very good. I'm gonna have to redo him. See if I can get him without making a big giant mess. Sometimes double stamping things doesn't always work out perfectly. Well, that's a disaster. There. That didn't leave much of a spot then. Just cleaning up around the stamp. There, that's better. All right, so I know it's super hard to see, but once it dries, it will look 100 times different. All bright, and I don't know if you can see that a little bit easier. The details in that stamp even. They're not as crisp and perfect like these detailed ones like that. They're not as crisp and perfect as when you use ink. When you use your ink and your ink pad. Nothing compares to the ink and the ink pad. But these, it's with chalk, right? So it's not gonna have that same look, but you can get them all crisp and perfect if you are using ink on a permanent sign. These aren't permanent. This is, you can wash it off and redo it and as many times as you want. Thanks, Myrna. All right, guys, that is it. I will post this one when it's dry, and that takes a little bit. This erasable liquid chalk takes a little bit longer to dry than, say, like chalk paint would take. But the good part about this is it's like totally, as long as you don't heat set it. If you heat set it, it makes it permanent. So, but you can use anything on these. If you have any kind of a sign or these stamps, you can use them with anything. Ink, paint, this erasable liquid chalk, all kinds of stuff. So there's kind of no limits there. I'm just showing you the chalk this time on these chalkboards. So, all right, if you have any questions, let me know. And I will see you tomorrow. Tomorrow is day 5. And I don't remember, oh, we're making ornaments tomorrow. All right, bye guys, thank you.